What's up, guys? Welcome to Education Day. Okay, we did the cardio last time. Today, for exercise education day, we're gonna be going over this M.A.F.A. Like, what does that stand for, right? So we're multi-axial force app, like on the App Store, I'm just kidding, application. Okay, what does that mean, okay? Now, if you go back to some of the earlier videos, we first started this during the first COVID lockdown. I talked about training in different planes of motion. Okay, so let me get my colors for that. Wait, how did I do that? Transverse. So we had three different planes. We have three different cardinal planes we worked through, okay? So we got blue is how I like to make it. So that's frontal plane. Okay. Red, which is sagittal plane. And green, which is transverse plane. Now, how I want to preface this is that our body has an infinite amount of ways that we can move. We don't have a certain set degrees of freedom. We can move here, that's an arm raise. I can move it here, I can move it here, I can move it here, I can move it like this, I can move it like this, I can move it like this. I mean, there's so many different ways. There's infinite amount of ways, right? So multi-axial force application is combining forces from these planes to get a resultant force or challenge to our muscles, okay? And I'll talk about how this is applicable and how that can help you if you're exercising with pain. It's actually really cool. So say for example, okay, I'll use the band to show this, but say for example, we have an arm and it's pressing, like this is me. Well, hey, let's draw a guy. Hey, look at that hair. There, that's a better nose, a little smile. Right, and this is his arm, okay? So he's pressing forward, all right? So say for example, we have a force coming from back here and he's pressing forward, okay? But if I wanted to not just work my pec, but work another tissue or get you to focus on another area, I could have another force attached here, which would then skew what's working off a little bit. So that's called a resultant. Wow. Spell check. It's called a resultant force, right? So physics is great, okay? I'm gonna give you a demonstration of what that looks like. So come over here with me, okay? So if I do, let's just do one handle here so I can demonstrate this. If I connect these two things here and I'm doing a chest press, which is like my bad drawing over there and I'm pressing, okay? And I'm doing a press, okay? Everything that's working on this front side of my body, okay? All this is working. But if I wanted to make it a little more challenge, because once I get here, there's no really force, it's just going through my joints, I could add another line of force on, which adds a resultant force, okay, which is super cool. So say I've got another band attached over here at an angle, which if you guys had two door anchors, we could play some really cool games with this. So I've got a force from here and here. So if I set up and I press now, I've got to really hold my arm in because when this resistance goes away, there's a band out here pulling, so I have to really work my pec from there. Coming back, forward, okay? So now instead of just the stuff working here, now as I get out in front, I'm also working the stuff here because of this other line of force. The cool thing about using, that's a resultant, multi-axial force application is we can hold a certain plane and change the length of the moment arm and challenge that tissue the same way. So if I wanted to work, like in that demonstration, that front side of my pecs, I could just hold this band here, okay? And I can move up and down. Like that's really hard. But if I go arm bent, okay? And I'm here, those muscles from here are gonna be working the whole time, okay? So I've got this axis that I'm moving through, which is the sagittal plane, but I have a force coming from the frontal plane. So now I can move like this and work my pec. If, for example, I can't do this, like say I've got something that's like my elbow really hurts, but we need to work the pec to help stabilize the elbow, right? So then I can have them do this and just go up and down, work the pec. That muscle's getting activated as I change the moment arm length, okay? And then I might have them be like, they might do this, like, oh, there's no pain there. That makes sense, which is super cool. So say, for example, I talked about how I was giving you an example of how there'd be pain. That's one example. If I'm talking about another one, okay? If I have somebody doing a squat, okay? They're doing a squat and it's like, oh, that really hurts, okay? Like, oh, my knees. Where does it hurt? Inside of your knees. This is hypothetical, okay? I haven't assessed anybody, I'm just making this up as in a scenario. So I'm doing a squat and it's like, oh, that really hurts, right? Like, where does it hurt? Man, my knees. Well, if I take a band, okay, which you guys have probably seen this all the time, right? Because people are like, oh yeah, put a band above the knees, it makes your squat better, right? Any type of band's fine, right? Like, don't even stress it too much. But then say, for example, I take this band and I put it above my knees because I don't want it to go below my knees because it'll cause joint action this way or force. So now if I'm here and I'm getting some tension out into that band and I squat, people might be like, oh my gosh, that feels better. But what we're doing is we're getting muscles in a different line of force that we're moving to get activated and help stabilize the joint, right? Which is a super cool way to help with how well you can move more efficiently and without pain. So multi-axial force application is if I'm moving in a certain plane, but I have a line of force outside that plane, it might be a good option to help take away pain when you're working out, but also not get as much joint action force, but get more demand to the muscles. I've seen it work really well with people that are in pain, if I add another force and so forth, or even on the table, or say they have trouble bending their knees or straightening their arm, but we have them do something that works those muscles in pieces, it makes a big difference. So that was an example on the band and this guy right here of how resultants can help. That might be one option. But another one we have is mixing in the planes of where we're moving and holding that, which is a super cool way to exercise. So hopefully that makes sense. Look into trying this a little bit and maybe we'll add this in with the next program. All right guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow.